I hope everyone enjoyed the Legend Anthology event that was relatively low powered with a couple exceptions. TG Calamity. Oh, sorry. But yeah, this event's gonna be a bit more higher power with Synchro Link, just because there's way more stuff legal, and even that goes for loners too. I think if you want, I think these loners are generally okay. I'm not sure about this one because I really don't know anything about how to build angels, or agents. So maybe this is a little sus, but I think the Dragoonity and the Infernoble Light loners are playable if you know how to play the deck, which these are actually quite difficult combo decks to learn. So if you're just picking up these decks for the first time, I think you'll probably struggle with it. And I think that if you do know how to play these decks, I feel like the most people that know how to play these decks already own, better versions of these decks than loners. But you can always try these, give them a try, see if you can get the hang of them. If not, I have some few budget options for you as well. One of them, of course, is of course you know me. It's always gonna be Marincess. I feel like if you crafted Marincess full power with all the URs necessary, which is not that many, and you only played Marincess during events, you would still more than make up your money back and your crafting points back, because literally any single event where straight up Cybers monsters or water monsters or link monsters aren't banned, for instance, are going to be super playable in them. And of course, in a Synchro Link Festival event, of course, this is no exception. Now, the budget version for this deck looks a little wonky because the majority of the Marincess Ultra Rares come from not the Marincess cards or the Lit Extra deck. It comes from the non-engine, the hand traps. So I'm just using an example list right here that only has ultra rares from either structure decks or bundles. No ultra rares that you have to physically craft or pull for yourself. Now, granted, because most of these ultra rares are staples, I think if you're not a new player and like you already have been playing this game for a while, you should probably have access to most of these staples anyway, so you can improve the main deck easily by just replacing the main hand traps and non-engine and stuff like that. Because the core is all mostly low rarity. You have the Marincess monsters themselves. You're playing 3 Seahorse, 3 NBT, 3 Pascalis, 3 Spring Girl, and 1 Mandarin and 1 Sleepy Maiden. And I would play 1 Basilica Lima for this event, simply because this is basically a brand opening effect, and with Swordsoul projecting to be a popular deck, we'll get into that deck later, and with Blackout and stuff like that being popular, just having something you can just dump this off of NBT, and then you're protected from something like a Blackout for the turn, which is really nice. I think that's nice utility, and at worst, it's a name, and any Marincess name you can just normal summon it and combo off with it. And I would, if you have access to the ultra rare Marincess cards, you would only run 1 wave. But because I'm assuming that if you're going complete budget and you don't have the Link 3 that searches wave, you can still play 3 waves, since you still want to have access to wave. It is the best card in the deck. It turns every monster on your field into a towers for the turn it resolves, and it's an imperm basically. 2 dive and 1 battle ocean is generally the standard ratio. Of course, if you're on a budget, you can fill it in with more battle oceans and more mandarins and just, stuff like that. And then the hand traps are just literally whatever. I'm putting in Crow and Gamma, and then stuff like Tactics and Droplet and Lightning Storm. These are like the budget options. These are from bundles. Nibiria's from a bundle, Veiler, the 1 Veiler from a bundle, the 1 Banemer from a bundle, and the 1 Ash from a bundle. And then the rest of the hand traps are super rares. And majority of you will have more than 1 Ash. You'll probably have more than 1 Imperm. You'll probably have stuff like Called By or Cross Out, because if you've been playing for the game for a while, you probably do have them. So it's just your main deck is probably going to look much better than what this looks like. For example, you would just take out stuff like Gamma and the Infirm and replace them for higher rarity hand traps and higher rarity non-engine that you yourself own. Including the Gamma Seals, you would probably replace the Gamma Seals first for more hand traps that you own. And the extra deck is this is all the low rarity extra deck monsters. This is what like the low rarity extra deck would like. It's only 13 cards, but I'm gonna be honest, you probably, if you don't have the ultra rares, you're probably not gonna need more than 13 cards in the extra deck that you want to go into. You're playing like 2 Blue Slug, 2 Sea Angel, 2 Coral Anemone, 1 Crystal Heart to make your unaffected Marincess monsters with Battle Ocean on the field. The 1 area just as a generic Link 2 or that you can make with any monster, not just waters. So if you have like something like a Nib token, or God forbid your opponent contact sees you for some reason, you can still play under that. Abyss Keeper, I don't know why this is here. This thing's kind of useless. To forget about Abyss Keeper, you only need 12 cards in your extra deck. You would play 2 Link 3s. The other Link 3 is an ultra rare, so if you don't have that, then you just play 2 Marble Rock, it's fine. And then 2 Great Bubble Reef. This is your Link 4 of choice. It's a super rare, and it's basically just Heat Soul. Although, keep in mind, it's not once per turn, so if you have the resources, you have to put up 2 of these up, which some hands with enough extenders can. You can draw 2 per turn, and then these are really hard to out with Marincess Waves, since they get really big every time a card's banished. Not once per turn, it gains 600 attack for the entire turn. And yeah, if you are interested in a more higher end build of Marincess, the missing extra deck monsters you would put in are 1 Aqua Argonaut, a Zealantis, and a Coral Triangle. And it would look something more similar to this, because now you have Coral Triangle basically Surge's Wave. If you play Coral Triangle, you can remove 2 wave and put in any other cards you might own that are higher rarity than the wave, for example. And it also is follow-up, because if your opponent clears your board, then this essentially soul charges 3 link material worth of monsters from your grave. So basically, you can use this to revive a Coral Enemy plus another Link 1. So that's like 2 monsters, and then Coral Enemy will revive another monster, all without your normal summon. So yeah, that's why this card's really good. And then Aqua Argonaut is just an alternative Link 4 you can make to Great Bubble Reef, which it's a lot smaller, but it makes it gives you a spell and trap negate on your opponent's turn. Important to note, the spell and trap negate is only during your opponent's turn, so it's not as good as you might think. But it also makes Sleeping Maiden better, since Sleeping Maiden equips a Link monster to your Marincess monster, so if you don't have access to Battle Ocean, you can still make your Aqua Argonaut live with if you have access to Sleeping Maiden too. And Zealantis is it's just a board wipe, and what's very important about Zealantis is when you banish the field and you special summon the monsters back, you, the controller of this card, are the one special summoning the monsters back. If you waterlock yourself with something like a Blue Slug or a Coral Anemone or a Coral Triangle, you cannot special summon any monsters that are not water back to the field. So all of your opponent's monsters that aren't water, they don't come back, they stay banished forever. That's why Zealantis is so crazy in Marincess, and it's like it's a better access code for the deck. Basically, this is a Cyber deck that can't use access code, but you don't need it because this is so much better. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. Again, this is the most budget version of Marincess you can get, and your Marincess deck is probably going to look way more high-end than this, just because you're going to be replacing stuff like Crows and your Gammas and Gamma Seals with better hand traps and higher rarity hand traps that you probably own already. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, there's another option for more high-end build of Marincess, and that's involving Ice Jade, Ran Eatery. The gist of this card is this is basically Water Longyuan. You discard a water monster from hand, you special summon this, and this special summons a level 3 token. So you can use the 2 monsters on the field for anything you want. Like, they're both water monsters, this and the token, so you can use them for all your link plays, because if you notice, all your link or 2 or higher Marincess link monsters don't actually require a Marincess monster to make them, except for Coral Triangle, but like all the other ones, they just require water monsters generically, so you can use Ran Eatery as material, and more importantly, it gives you access to water. Gives you access to a pool of water synchros, which basically is just Gamer, Eatery, and Longyuan. You can, if you want to slot Ice Jade, Ran Eatery into the build, I would cut, cut a couple Cyan Mining, since they both require discard. You don't want to be discarding too many cards from your hand and like any other card. And then you would put in Gamer Eatery, which is this card's insane. It's first of all, it protects all your monsters from being destroyed or banished, but also in response to an activation, it also banishes your opponent's cards. And yeah, that's pretty powerful. And then you have Longyuan as you have Changing as well, and Changing you can trigger on your turn very easily with Spring Girl. Spring Girl requires you to banish a monster, special summon it, so you simply summon your Spring Girl and that triggers your Longyuan for you, and that gives you additional pushes for OTK. So yeah, if you want to play a more high-end build and you already own, say, Changing and a Gamer Eatery for some reason, then yeah, you can also fit in the Ran Eatery. Yeah, it's a pretty nice dimension to the deck. This deck is back. For those of you who played in the first Link Festival, the competitive ladder grind to Diamond 1 Link Festival, like over a year back, this deck was absolutely fucking everywhere. And I feel like more people are going to own real Link decks now, so it might be less common, but for the people who don't own Link decks, they're probably going to default to this Blind Second OTK deck, and it's so cheap. Again, all I put in were the only URs here are from structure decks or bundles. You don't have to craft any of this. Obviously, if you have craftable URs, it's better. Duster is better than Twin Twisters, but this Twin Twister is honestly going to probably be fine because you only need like 3 cards to OTK your opponent anyways. And yeah, the deck building is really simple. These are like, you have 5 Crusadia monsters maxed out, plus Format Skipper, which is actually the best Crusadia monster. The idea with this is you reveal a Magius, and then you link summon Format Skipper into Magius, and then you search Parallel Exceed with that, and if you have any other Crusadia monster, you can special summon like the Crusadia monster to the Mega Zone, go into Regulus, and then Regulus trigger Exceed, and then you have full combo. You have all the link materials in the world. You have Regulus searching Crusadia Revival or Power to play around Nibiru, for example, and then you just OTK your opponent. The Kaijus are legal, the big Kaijus are legal, so you can give your opponent the Kaijus in your Kaiju zones and then make your Equimax huge and then kill them off of that. Format Skipper is actually like such a good card that we're also running triple period Rice Map, which with the only purpose of this is to search for Format Skipper, and I have a 40th card slot open. Obviously, if you have staples, a staple would probably take the slot of this Silent Mining, but Silent Mining also just searches for Format Skipper. We don't have to worry about cards like running Ash or Call by the Grave because Maxi is not in this format. Droll is also not in this format. Droll would have actually FTK'd this deck, but thankfully you don't have to worry about either of those two problematic hand traps. So you can really just load up on Kaijus and Board Breakers, or like Nibiru's if you have them. Nibiru is going to be really good this event. There's going to be a lot of decks that can't play around this, or people who are going to be playing decks that don't know how to play around Nibiru with their particular deck, because Nibiru is not not been a very popular hand trap in Master Duel, but in a format where Maxi is banned and most decks are Link decks, yeah, Nibiru is gonna make a comeback. So yeah, even if you just have the one bundle, just run this card in this format, and yeah, you see the main deck. It's super cheap. You don't have to worry about crafting any cards for the main deck. The extra deck, the only cards that matter in the extra deck are your Crusadia Magius, your Regulix, one Spatha for some. I don't know when you would like go into this, but for random edge cases, and then the Crusadia Equinox. These are all SRs or N rarity. The other stuff in the extra deck, honestly, it doesn't matter. It can just be filled with whatever stuff you want, you know. Even Crusadia Magnite Avermax, this is actually just not necessary. If you're gonna OTK your opponent, you definitely don't even need Avermax, especially since Power lets, or Crusadia Revival lets your Equinox attack all your opponent's monsters, and then Maximus gives your Equinox double battle damage, and then which one of these gives piercing? Yeah, Leonis gives piercing. It's just, yeah. And see, I have the Altart Appaloosa. Actually, probably the only other card besides the Crusadia Link monsters that's necessary. This is absolutely, if you have Altart Appaloosa, you have to run it in all decks you play. Same with Altart IP Masquerade. That's just a rule. Sorry, I didn't come up with that. Yeah, this is, again, blind second, OTK. You can scoop if your opponent's on Infernoble, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you can beat Infernoble with this deck, unfortunately. But other than that, if you're playing like a more mid or more budget Link deck, you just kaiju them and you just kill them with summoning Crusadia monster. It's the OTK lining is very simple. There's not much thinking or variation you have to do involved. It's like the same plays every time. Magius, special to zone. Regulix, special to zone. Search one of these. Equimax, special to zone. Yeah, Magius will add another Crusadia monster as well. Then Draco adds one from the grave when you use as material, I believe. Yeah, target Crusadia monster in graveyard added to hand. So, yeah, and yeah, I've gone on enough. That I've described way more than necessary for this deck. Well, it's been 2 years, and we can finally say that Swordsoul is a budget and new player friendly deck. And once again, this list here, these 55 cards are only cards that you get for free from the Swordsoul structure deck and from bundles, and none of these are URs that you need to craft. And if you don't have the Swordsoul structure deck yet, and if you're a new player, I guess I'll post my code here in the video right here. You can just put that in the campaign code section and you get a free structure deck. And if you're a returning player, you know, just I guess feel free to share your codes in the comments, or like just share whatever. I'm sure somebody, it might be a little late now, but I'm sure somebody will use up your code for you and get you your free structure deck. But yeah, this is the standard engine is should be the same, whether you're playing a budget build or you're playing a higher end version of Swordsoul. Every deck should have 3 Moye, 2 Taya at max. I wouldn't go with the 3 Taya because Taya doesn't do anything unless you already have a playable hand. So you really don't want to open Taya unless your hand's already good. So 2 Taya is enough. 3 Ecclesia, 3 Longan, and I would say 3 Ashuna. If you're playing Tenin Swordsoul, I'd say 3 Ashuna is staple. And then you want to run at least 2 Vishuddha and 2 Adara so that you have worms, I suppose. Although we're running 3 and 3 because this is the budget build. So there's instead of having more UR like hand traps and stuff, we're just running more Tennies, because Tennies are also pretty good going second too. And 1 Shafana because we are running Heavenly Dragon Circle. There's no Max C. That means people are going to be on Veilers and people are going to be on Imperms to stop you more now. And the best way to counter Valor and Infirm is just by Heavenly Dragon Circle, chaining it to when you're gonna Valor Infirm your Moye, you just Heavenly Dragon Circle it, dodge that stuff, get the Special Summon the Shafana, still get the token, then you can still combo off that way and ignore their hand trap. And yeah, 3 immersions and then 2 blackout. Like you would only run 1 blackout in like a regular build, but if you just have the structures really, then 2 blackout is fine, because oftentimes you'll find you'll have to banish your blackout with your Chi Shao in order to get a token. It's like something gets infirmed or something random unforeseen happens, and then it's still nice to have the second blackout. It's also, if you draw one of the blackouts, it's a free discard for long end. You don't have to worry about not having access to a blackout later. But yeah, it's you generally don't need to run 2 of this if you have better hand traps you can run. Likewise, again, the Valor, Ash, Lightning Storm, Cactus, Droplet, these are all from the bundles. If you have more copies of these hand traps, please feel free to run more copies of these and cut the Crows. Crows are just like the weakest hand traps of this, but it's an SR, so it's the one that anybody can get. But yeah, please run more copies of Valor, more copies of Infirm, more copies of Ash, and more copies of Nibiru if you have them, over the obviously the budget replacements and the Lightning Storm and the the Chalice. And for the extra deck, so 3 Monk, 1 Shaman, that's all the Link Tennies that you need. The 1 Sinister Qixing and the 1 Longyuan, those are free, and the 1 Qixia, these are all free from the structure deck. And then the rest is at least 2 Baxia. If you're a budget build, you might consider 3 Baxia, because you can just spam this a lot. This breaks wars. It's great follow-up because you can also use the ditch to revive your Moyes and combo off that way. White Aura Whale, you can make this with a Swordsoul token and a Moye, and this is just a Rekyeki for all attack position monster your opponent controls, so that's pretty funny. Crimson Blader, I think for a more budget build, Crimson Blader is really nice this format, because half the decks you're going to be facing actually get murdered if you resolve Crimson Blader. Now, obviously, don't go for this against a link-based deck like the Marincess deck I showed earlier, or Crusadia, because you're going to feel a little bit silly. 2 Yazi, because there's nothing else really to run. You got to run 1 Yazi at minimum, but the second one is just there because, again, this is where I'm assuming this is a budget build. Obviously, if you own a real Swordsoul deck, or if you want to build a Swordsoul deck and have it played outside this event, then I would recommend you need to run the at least one more Baron. Well, at least one. You run the 1 Baron, because Baron is not included in the structure deck. You run the 2nd Chi Shao, because the 2nd Chi Shao is not included in the structure deck. You have to run the 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, because I don't think that's part of any of the free campaign gifts either. And then if you want, you can run 1 Chaofeng. There are Chaofeng lines you make with this and Adara plus the Baxia, so you can. I would say Chaofeng is a lot better in the Single Link Festival too, because this enables you lines to play through Nibiru, which Nibiru is going to be way more popular in this event than in regular rank, because Maxi is banned, and it's like Nibiru becomes the go-to anti-combo hand trap. So yeah, being able to play around that with Chaofeng now is nice. And as for the final card, Maple Maiden, is because as long as we have Moye, we will not exhibit maidenless behavior. Next, finally, we have Salamangreat, Salaman OKA, Salaman, whatever. Again, this is a deck like Marincess, where a large part of the deck cost does not come from the core itself, but it comes from the non-engine. So it looks weird because I'm going again with the minimal amount of URs from the non-engine. You have basically the bundled URs, and most people I think should have multiples of these hand traps right now, like Ash and Infirm, maybe even Nibiru, maybe you have more droplets, stuff like that. Obviously, you would replace the Crows and the Gammas with the better hand traps that you own, and I think most people should be able to do that. Because just know that the actual deck basically just costs you 3 structure decks. That's the price of entry for playing this deck. And Yeah, because also I'm assuming budget, and there's no desires or other pot cards. We're just maxing out on all the good salad cards. So 3 of Gazelle, 3 of Foxy, 3 of Spinny, 3 of Jack Jaguar, because you know, again, we just want to see more salad cards. 1 Falco, that's all you need. To be honest, Falco is a little less good because there's no Mirage Salio, so and there's no rank 4 so you don't really have to play to get Falco out of your deck and make a rank 4 of it, but it's just, you still want to play the 1 Falco just to dump with Gazelle so you can reset your salad spell and traps for free. And the 3 Flame Buffalo, the 2 semi-limited Cyan Mining, thank you very much Circular. The no longer limited, but still you would only ever run 1 Salamangreat Sanctuary, nice Legend Mythology banlist Konami. 3 Circle, 3 Will to Salamangreat, since this is a budget build, so Will is actually a pretty decent card for lower end players, since it's, I mean, free recursible reborn every turn that you can add back with Sunlight Wolf as well, and 1 of each Salad Trap. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the rest of the after the Salad Core is just all the whatever hand traps, whatever non-engine you can fill in for the rest of the slots. And if you have more actual good hand traps, you could cut down on the will and stuff like that, just so you could fit in more because this deck really depends heavily on its non-engine too, at least when it goes second. And for the extra deck, everything up to here, up to Heat Soul Talker, is free. It's basically just stuff you get from the structure deck, and then 1 Lingarebo and 1 G-Gold and Crystal Heart, which isn't even necessary. Honestly, normal Salad doesn't run this. We're just playing this because we don't have access to Exceed, so you gotta fill the slot with something. And the last 2 slots are not from the pack. These are from URs that you actually have to get yourself. Although I feel like if you're not a new player but you're playing the game for a while, I think you should have access Code Talker already. And Premium Princess is not necessary. But if you are planning to play any Fire deck or any Snake Eye related deck or Diabellstar deck in the future, you probably want to have this anyways. If anybody's rolling in the new packs, you should probably, and you plan on playing anything from the new pack, you should probably look into crafting this anyways. But then this is the least necessary card. It's the 15th card. But yeah, I mean it's really standard. You go first. You try to set up your Salad Trap with Sunlight Wolf, and then with having your Gazelle back in hand for follow-up, just to try to live a turn. And then if you can get into a grind game, that's great. If you can't get into the grind game, you always have the option of Update Jammer OTKing. You don't actually need Access Code Talker to OTK. You can actually OTK with Update Jammer and just something like a Transcode Talker or a Transcode Talker Heat Soul. You can do Update Jammer's attack effect to gain 2 attacks is not once per turn, so if you make a transcode with this and then revive this as a transcode and then make another link monster with this, you can actually give 2 of your link monsters double attacking. So like you can just do upwards of 12k damage with just transcode, double attacking transcode co-linked with double attacking decode Talker Heat Soul without actually needing the access code. Obviously, if you have the access code, it's way better, and if you just have access code at all, this deck is going to be viable because you can just randomly just OTK your opponent out of nowhere, regardless of like, I mean, if they can't stop you, you know they're dead. It's similar to like the Crusadia deck, I guess, except unlike the Crusadia deck, this deck isn't all or nothing. This deck does have a grind game you can fall back on. It does have a plan A. It also does have ability to go first, unlike the Crusadia deck, which is literally just a blind second deck. Even though it might be slightly better at blind seconding OTKing, it's not very flexible, unlike Salad right here. And yeah, I don't know when the hell we're gonna get the new support. I'm just saying, the paper format's got this new Salad support months before Poplar, and we got Poplar and there's no sign of this in sight, so whatever, I guess. We're just gonna have to deal with the old classic TOS format era Salamangreat. But that's still good enough to get all your gems for pretty cheap for this event. Yeah, those are the decently cheap budget options for this event. And there are certain decks available in this event that are a bit more expensive, but they're much stronger. And if you've been pulling from the new recent Ride into the Future pack with all the fire support, let me just tell you, you're gonna be able to use the cards you pulled from that pack and use them in this event to get even more gems. So stay tuned for that.